Howdy, folks. What's up, everybody? This is Jay, also known as MultimediaJay, and it's quite obvious that once again I'm parodying the style of... Okay, enough of the silly voice acting for now. I wanted to talk about some stuff that's been going on with console gaming lately. Apparently, the specs for the upcoming PlayStation and Xbox consoles have been leaked, and fanboys and other console war people have been going to town with the specs they've been able to get a hold of. I guess the next PlayStation is supposed to be a lot better than the next Xbox, so folks are like, Xbox, you're gonna lose next to this. Yeah, so apparently both units are going to be notably better than the Wii U, and then, of course, as usual, PC is going to blow all consoles completely out of the water. So if you want the absolute best gaming experience on a multi-plat that's possible, of course, just like numerous times before, you'll go out and buy a high-end PC and sink all that money into a kick-ass Core i7 system with 2 video cards and a big power supply with high wattage and all that other fun stuff, or a high maximum wattage, I should say. It's not like those power supplies draw that much power all the time, but I don't know. I don't know when the whole PC thing really stops. I mean, do we really need computers that running full blast suck as much power as a space heater? So, anyways, PC gaming issues aside, does anybody else out there think it's weird that all these console fanboys are ripping each other up over consoles that haven't even been released yet, or better yet, haven't even been totally, completely announced yet? Am I missing something here? Why is it that people will rip each other apart for any reason these days, I suppose? But this whole console war thing, isn't it getting old, folks? Isn't it getting long in the tooth yet? I mean, what do you get when you buy a console these days? I mean, sure, yeah, the previous generation of consoles, there was some hardware differences that were pretty significant, like the capacity of the storage media between the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 with the whole Blu-ray thing, and of course, the 360. Very few people want to remember this little failure of the 360, but it took the wrong side in the format war and went HD DVD, which of course went belly up, so oh well. But seriously, next time around though, what are you getting when you buy a console? You're getting a pretty decent machine that plays games, makes games look really well, and has pretty decent sized storage media. So, I mean, other than say there aren't any format wars that I know of between high capacity optical discs going on anymore. So what's the fight over? Does it really come down that much to that just synthetic brand loyalty? Do we really have like a Ford versus Chevy thing like we do with trucks, with consoles? Yeah, I remember in high school the old things like, Ford found on road dead, Chevy, nothing sinks like a rock. Do we really need that with video game consoles? Folks, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The whole console war thing sometimes really feels like the invention of people who just want any excuse whatsoever to rip somebody to pieces over what brand of whatever that they happen to enjoy. And I know that some of these hotheads like to say that, oh, the 16-bit war started everything. But like myself and many others will tell you who were around back then, you didn't sit there if you went over a friend's house who had the other system, like the Genesis or the Super Nintendo if you had the other system, obviously. If you went over a friend's house with the other system, did you sit there with your arms folded because they had the other console or the wrong console? No, you picked up the controller and played it, and it was just the other system. I had a Super Nintendo. I had friends with a Genesis. I went over their house, and I actually played Sonic the Hedgehog once with an Atari 7800 joystick. Yeah, the horrible, knuckle-hurting Atari 7800 joystick I actually played Sonic 1 with, thanks to the whole plug thing between the Genesis and the Atari controllers. But, you know, this whole console war thing, isn't it just getting old at this point? Especially when when we know that the next generation of consoles isn't repeating one of the big mistakes of this past generation of consoles and going overboard with the hardware leap. Yeah, we're not having another $700 PlayStation, I don't think. I hope Sony has learned their lesson from watching the PS3 stumble out of the gate as a $700 money sink with, and yeah, I mean, the PS3 was a beast of a machine when it first came out. It was better than a lot of PCs at the time. I remember some tech shows talking about folding at home. They were talking about how the PS3 folks who did folding at home were crunching more numbers than many of the PC users, or something along those lines. So the PS3, yeah, it was nowadays, of course, these consoles are dated, but when the PS3 and the 360 first hit the scene, they were pretty powerful machines in their day. And, of course, yeah, sure, the generation has lasted longer than a lot of other generations, and even the PS2, but, I think that that the longevity of this previous generation it comes from a lot of other things besides hardware. And I think the main point I'm trying to make here is everybody's beating each other over the head over what specs their favorite game box is going to have. But at the end of the day, it's not about the hardware, it's about what the programmers and game developers can do with it. I mean, look at Oblivion versus Skyrim in terms of graphics, which, of course, we're taking a look at some beautiful Skyrim scenery and some footage of me fooling around with a gun mod, going out doing some hunting here. But Skyrim and Oblivion, I remember one of the early reviews of Skyrim that I saw when the game first came out. People were saying, yeah, you know, one of the great things about Skyrim's art style and the efficiency of this game is that it's hard to believe that Oblivion and Skyrim are part of the same hardware generation. It's just that much has improved in the past couple of years in terms of how even this current generation of hardware is utilized. So, and then there's all the talk about, oh, this game doesn't use all the potential of this console, and this game doesn't use all the potential of that console, and this, that, and the other, and all that other stuff. And you gotta think, folks, just stop and think for a minute. Why can we stop with this whole beating people over the head over supposedly leaked specs and hardware specifications? I think we all know at this point it's not the hardware that matters, it's what developers can do with it. Furthermore, how silly is it that there's all this venom spewing going on when this is just a bunch of leaked specs and speculation as to what these machines are going to be able to do, and it's a pretty decent bet at this point when it comes to what these machines are going to be able to do, that they are actually going to be less of a jump than their predecessors were, because console makers are in a very different position now than they were several years ago. The console, as we know it, is largely floating towards or drifting towards a niche of being a budget gaming machine that gives you quite a bit of bang for your buck, but not very many bucks. Because as we've seen with the PS3 and other expensive consoles through the ages, the more expensive upfront a console is when it launches, the more it kind of has trouble getting going. In which case, the PlayStation 3 shared some space in the history of gaming machines with such wonderful devices as the 3DO and the CDI because of how expensive it was. But at least the PS3 turned out to be a decent system, unlike the other two expensive consoles I've mentioned. But it's pretty much a given at this point with how the job market has been and how the economy has been, that this next generation of consoles is going to be an improvement, yes, a decent improvement, but not a gigantic earth-shattering improvement, and high-end PCs will still do better than them, and things along those lines. So, what's the fight over, folks? What's the fight over? Are people who want to rip other people to shreds really grasping at straws here? Because that's certainly what it looks like to me. I don't know, folks. What do you think about the console war? Should the whole concept of a console war just start getting old at some point, old and moldy, and just be thrown out? I mean, we even see already with the PS3 and the Xbox 360 that sometimes console gaming is basically like PC gaming, but not as good in terms of load times, installing stuff, how long it takes, downloading patches, and things like that. You know, Let me know what you think in the comments and other discussions and feedback that you send and whatnot. And since we are parodying ReviewTechUSA here, let's finish up with the classic. Make sure to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe! Okay, I'll shut up and stop parodying the guy. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.